Tired of feeling like you're spinning all the plates in your design business and at any moment they could all come crashing down? Are you feeling like you're so close to breaking through to the next level, but those consistent projects still aren't flowing your way? Are you ready to finally take your business from a hobby to 100K and beyond? Then welcome to the SixFigure Designer podcast. I'm talking all the techniques you need in your design business to start paying yourself, get great clients, and finally break through that 5-figure ceiling. Well, hello everyone. Happy Wednesday. Another Wednesday is here and we're doing yet another live. So I'm so glad that some of you can be here today with me. And for those who actually pop on, kudos to you for bettering yourselves and your business the day before a big old holiday. So thanks for joining me today. Hey, all about Lanai. Nice to see you. And Stephanie, how are you? Tell me where you guys are joining from. I would love to hear about that. Maybe today's a slower day at the office because it's the day before holiday. So, of course, you're putting in a little education time, which I love that. Hi, Maritza. Good to see you, my friend. I know Maritza's in, I believe, in Florida, right? My brain, I swear, it's the age. So anyway, so thanks for joining me today. The thing that we're going to be talking about is how to find great clients. So many people have told me, I don't know where to find them. I don't know how to find them. I don't know where to start. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that today. And I'm actually going to be giving you some statistics and things to really, drive the point home. So many of you are telling me that great clients are elusive and you just don't even know where to find them. And this may be a little bit unpopular in 2024, but personally, I'm going to tell you as an interior designer, in-person networking is going to garner the best results for you. That is by far, my most favorite way to do that. I know for some of you who are introverted and hate to walk into a room full of people that you don't know, it's very stressful and it's very overwhelming. And in fact, I'm going to tell you a story about an event that I just went to where that happened to me. So you're totally not alone. So I'm going to give you some tools and some tips on how to navigate that way better. So I want to first ask, are any of you guys doing any in-person networking now? If you are, put a little note in the chat. I'd love to hear about that. And just even like what kind of groups you're going to, if it's industry groups or maybe it's a chamber event or something like that. I would love to hear about that. So I'm so glad you guys are here. And I'm going to talk about some of the biggest mistakes that I see designers doing. So, hey, Audra, good to see you, girl. Working hard on the day before a holiday. Love it, love it, love it. So some of the biggest mistakes that I see designers making is one, that they do zero in-person networking and connection, that they do it all online. And I'm going to give you the argument of why I think that is not the best solution for you if you are looking for great clients. Hey, Water Lily, good to see you. I'm so happy you're coming in. Tell us again where you're coming in from. Would love to hear that. And so we're talking about networking. So one of the biggest mistakes that I see is that designers think that they can do it all online. I'm not that big of a fan. I think that online is a addition to in-person networking. So that's one of the biggest mistakes I see, is that they're doing it all online and wondering why they're not getting great clients. The second mistake I see is that they're doing it in person and they're in the wrong place. So many times we just go to events and we really don't think about why we're going to the events or what the goal is for the event. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that and how you can determine where you're going, these in-person events, if they're the right ones for you, and then how can we make them work the most? How can we get the best ROI on that event? And then the third thing that I see is that you're going to in-person events, but you're you're too pushy. Like you're literally like, let's work together. So I'm going to give you some tools and tricks to kind of ease into that, understand what the purpose of those initial contacts at networking events are for, and how you can start to build rapport and that relationship with some new contacts and even reconnect with existing contacts. So I'm sure most of you are saying that you get your job for some referrals. If you do, put a little heart in the chat. I'm going to probably guess that 95% of your jobs come from referrals. And we're going to think about that. So there's two kinds, two main kind. That would be customer referral and a vendor referral. And I like to put my time and effort, especially if you have a small interior design business and you don't have a marketing department, which I'm sure a lot of you don't. You want to be putting your time and effort into things that garner the best results, right? So yes, of course, we can talk to clients about referrals. We can always ask for referrals. But I think the majority of your time and effort in terms of getting referrals should be taken with your vendor partners and people in your industry. There's so many reasons for this, but the big reason is you can get 3 to 5 to 10 referrals from one builder, and you're going to get 1 to 2 referrals from a client. And I want you to think about, how can I use my time to the best of my ability to get the biggest return on my investment? You know, time and money are investments, especially when you have a small interior design business. So I want to be thinking, where can I put the majority of my time and effort when I have time to do networking and get referrals? I think you should be putting that into your vendor partners, whether it's existing vendor partners. So that's one avenue where you can always be sort of in touch with them. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then carving new partnerships. According to Forbes, 85% of business owners say that in-person networking builds stronger and more meaningful relationships. And you're going to, as a designer, stronger and more meaningful relationships in a project make all the difference in the world. So you really want, of course, a good, strong set of vendors. So not only, working these vendors to get referrals and to network, but think about how that's going to elevate your design business moving forward. We cannot do anything in design without good vendors. They help us so much learn how to create amazing interiors. So we want to be, rounding out our network with high quality vendors as well. So this is just another reason to be spending more time on this avenue, enjoying and cultivating those great vendor relationships. So, hey, Camille, good to see you. We're talking about finding great clients, where to go, how to do that. So when you're doing in-person networking, here's some of the benefits of that. You're creating connection, of course, which is, we're going to talk about how you can do that more effectively. You're creating rapport. Every time I talk to a client or I talk to a vendor, I talk about rapport. So incredibly important when you are running a project, working on a project. I mean, as you start to build your design business, those projects become bigger and longer, right? And you need to have great rapport because you're hanging out together for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, 24 months. So one of the side benefits of that is, I know that you love what you do, but don't you also want to love who you're working with? On both sides of the fence, clients and vendors. So, hey, Susan, good to see you. We're kind of going over why and how we can find better projects and clients. When you're in person, you can be looking at body language. You can be looking at what these people are saying and doing at the same time, and then you can kind of riff off of that. So meaning if you see them change their stance or look uncomfortable or whatever, then you can continue to maneuver that conversation to deepen that connection. So I think that can only honestly be done really, really effectively in person. And as you know, this is incredibly important in design because you've got these long-term detailed relationships that you're going through the trenches together. So definitely this is why I'm a big fan of in person. Um According to Viral Loops, 84% of business to business decision makers, so these are your vendors, your builders and all that, are making the B2B buying process will start with a referral. So business to business. So when you're working business to business, so your design firm looking to get referrals from a builder or a realtor or maybe your cabinet guy, right? Those decisions are happening via referral. So I'm going to tell you a story that happened literally just a few months ago. I had two, we're going to call them small projects. I don't know if I would consider them small, but in my market, they were considered small. If I had two small projects, one was a full primary bathroom renovation, and one was a kitchen renovation, full kitchen renovation. So two different clients. Projects were only within a mile of each other. So just from a convenience factor, pretty great. I called all of my builders that I work with and I said, hey, I've got these projects. And every one of them told me they were too small, that they couldn't help me. They were too small or they were too busy. And so that really threw me for a loop because, I've been working with people for a really long time. And especially when you start to work with people for a long time, you know exactly how they work, you know how you work, and it moves everything along in a much faster way. So I was at a loss as to what I was going to do here, and I was certainly not going to walk away from these two projects because they were really great. So I went to my kitchen cabinet vendor and said, hey, I've got these two projects. I had already brought them my drawings and things that I was looking for. I said, I need a builder. I need, someone that can pull permits, that can kind of handle all that stuff. I just, that's not something I'm going to be doing. I need help with that. He gave me a referral to someone I had not met before. He told me a little bit about this person, gave me a little bit about their background and a company they had previously worked for, which has a really great reputation. And I went ahead and called him, talked to him a little bit about what his philosophy was and how he handles projects. Like I wanted to really hear how organized he was, basically, and how much he cared about certain things. As we all know, we've worked with builders who aren't as detail-oriented or don't care as much, and he gave me really good impressions. So we went ahead and actually did an in-person meeting. This is kind of exactly how I do it when I interview clients, and I was interviewing a vendor. We did an in-person meeting. We talked about a few things, walked the projects, loved everything that I was seeing. He was doing all the right things. Long story short, we decided to work together. I literally handed him a $110,000 bath remodel and a $225,000 kitchen remodel. And so that's over $335,000 worth of projects. And the clients did not bid him out. Once I came in there and said, this is the person I think you should be working with, they literally were like, okay. Did they have questions, a couple questions along the way? Of course they did. And we worked through those and we answered those questions, but both of them signed the bottom line and now we're in the process of doing those renovations. So here is the power of referrals. Talk about how easily that contractor was able to get that job. Yes. Did he have to do some selling? Did he have to show that he could be capable of that? Yes. But we moved that sales process along so incredibly fast. So if you want to find great clients, you need to be tapping into the power of referral. So the first thing is I want you to be thinking about your existing vendor base. Who are those people? Who are the great people that you're working with? Obviously, if you have people that they're not that great, maybe those aren't the ones that you're looking for referrals. So think about ways of how can I deepen the relationship with the people that I'm already working with? And how can we start to partner up on things? Small businesses are small businesses, but when two small businesses come together, they're like a medium-sized business. So think about ways that you can partner up either in your marketing efforts or doing an event together or something like that. Um, the best way, I think, obviously, to have somebody think about referring you or wanting to refer you is to reciprocate, meaning how can I also get you business? So I want you to be thinking about that as well. So one other interesting percentage fact that I came up with or I found today from Dale Carnegie is 91% of customers would give referrals, but only 11% ask for them. So I guess my question to you now is, are you asking for referrals? It seems so simple, seems so easy, but sometimes we just get caught up in all the day-to-day stuff and we just, lose track of all the things we're supposed to do. So I guess my question to you is, are you even asking for referrals? Now, most of you or some of you have said to me, I don't want to look desperate. I don't want to look like I'm not busy. I don't want people to think that I need the work, which I get it. I understand the perception, right? But here's the way that you can actually term that. This is how you can ask for that. You can say, hey, I have some openings in my schedule right now, and I would love to work with you again. If you have anything or if you hear of anything, I would love to at least have the opportunity to talk to you about it, see if it's a fit, if we could work together on that one. That's you being a smart business person. That does not look desperate. That does not look like you're not busy. It looks like you have a slot. You have an opening in your calendar that you would like to fill up. So I think that if you use that language with any kind of vendor, that would be received really, really well. So I think you need to be making sure that you're asking for referrals or reaching out actively at some point on a regular basis to be asking, I would like to work with you again. I would love, we had such a great rapport on the Smith project and I really enjoyed our time working together. So if you have another opportunity come up, I would love to be considered for that. These are some really easy ways for you to be, we call it the re-engagement campaign. It's like people that you've worked with in the past, maybe vendors that you loved, that you worked with and you just haven't, like nothing's come up since then, or a builder. This is the re-engagement campaign. So write down a list of those people that you want to be, would like to be working with again, and reach out to them and ask them that, hey, I have some openings coming up, just wondering if you have anything going on or if I can help you in any way. So are you regularly asking for referrals? Also, great stat. Referred customers have a 59% higher lifetime value, which what does that mean? It means that they're going to spend more money with you over your working time together. So these referrals are incredibly powerful, not only now, but in the future as you move forward. So the other thing I want to talk about today is the other two mistakes. So hopefully I've made a case for you guys to start networking in person. And many of you may be doing that already. But the other two mistakes that I'm seeing is that you're going maybe to an in-person networking group, but you're in the wrong place. Or the second thing is you're doing an in-person networking, maybe you're in the right place, but you're being too pushy. So let's kind of dive into that a little bit. When you're in the wrong place. So just because a networking group opportunity comes up does not mean that you actually should be going and networking. What I want you to be doing is when this comes up, so many have come to me and said, hey, I was asked to join this group. It's $500. It's $1,000 for the fee. What do you think I should do? And my first question is going to be, have you looked at the list? Have you looked at who's a member? Have you asked to go to one event to check it out, to see who's in that group? Because no offense, but the water guy or the copier guy is not going to refer you to great interior design clients. It's just not the place you need to be. So if you've got, if you look at that group list, that member list, and it's trades that are maybe working in certain areas that are not of interest to you, or maybe they're doing very transactional items that are low ticket, they're probably not going to be great referrers for you. But Here's some groups that if they have these kind of mixes. Now, of course, obviously anybody that's in your field that's doing work in the type of areas or the type of projects that you want to do, of course, those are great opportunities. But I also want you to be thinking about so high-end builders, of course, realtors may or may not be a great source for you. Cabinet makers, I have a designer that I'm coaching right now. One of her great referral sources is a high-end paint store. So they're using the most expensive paint that you can get. And they are a great referral for great projects because they're already at the higher tier, right? So those people are willing to spend more money on paint. Most people just want to slap up paint and go. So you think about that. Beautiful florists that are doing really amazing things. Those could be good. Party planners, property managers. And what I mean by property managers would almost be like the people that are going and doing power washing and kind of handyman services, but on a different level, right? On a higher level, they could be great referral sources for you. And definitely high end cleaners. I know one designer that I know, she's hooked up with a high-end cleaner. They do all the big homes in a couple different neighborhoods and literally have gotten so many jobs, and she's just in the same neighborhood all the time. So that is an incredible way because the first thing that end users are going to ask is, do you know someone? They're going to start with the easy. Whoever's in front of them who's doing a great job for them, they're going to say, do you know somebody that can help me with XYZ? So these are great places that you can go to start getting great referrals. So think about those networking groups and ask yourself, is this the place that I want to be? If you're not sure, ask if you can go audit or go hang out at one meeting. I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, they're going to let you do that. So the other mistake that I'm seeing is that maybe you're in the right place, but you kind of like go for the jugular like way too soon. So you meet somebody and you're like, hey, and you're like, I'm a designer, it goes right to you. I'm a designer and I'm looking for projects. Do you have anything? Now, maybe you're not saying it quite that way, but I will tell you, I can't tell you how many times I've been to an event and somebody like within seconds of meeting me shoved their card in my face. Let me ask for your card. That's what I like people to ask for the card. So that just tells me, that shows me interest. So you got to think about this as an opportunity to get to know someone. It's sort of like the handshake instead of let's get married. So think about that as you're working a networking event that you're really interested in. The other thing is have a goal for this event. Put on in your mind, especially if you're an introvert. I know I was talking to somebody about this and they were a major introvert and they were really forcing themselves to go to these networking events. And they're like, there's 2 people I want to meet at this event. And if I meet those 2 people, it's been a success. So give yourself that. If you've met those 2 people, and literally after they met those 2 people, they literally like ran out the door because they were like, that's it. That's all I can handle. So when you're going to these networking events, instead of just going in and just kind of wandering around, what's your goal? Meet 2 builders, talk to 2 specific people that you know that are going to be there. So have a goal for that event and then think about how you're going to follow up with those people, right? So you got to make sure that, here's the thing. We're all busy. We've got a million things to do. I've got emails sitting in my inbox from several months ago because I just haven't had time to, and these aren't clients, but these are just people reaching out for certain things that I want to get back to. I just haven't gotten to it because it's not a priority. And that's just what happens with networking as well. So many have said to me, well, I gave so-and-so my card and they were really excited. And then I heard nothing. Well, have you reached back out? So again, seems so easy, but just be like, hey, I just really enjoyed our time and meeting together. And I want you to be going a step further and remaking the connection. Like what was it that you guys talked about? What was it that you had in common to make that reconnection? So I'm going to tell you about an example. I was at a trade show last week, or actually not even an industry event, an investing event. And they had a trade show portion. And I was literally like walking around going, I don't want to go up to any of these booths. Like, it's so uncomfortable for me because I don't know what to ask. I don't know what to say. I don't want to be sold to. right away. I don't want the hard sell. I'm more just here learning and trying to figure some things out. And I ended up walking past one booth and somebody saw something I was wearing and said, oh, they saw I had University of Florida, where both of my kids went to school. And they said, oh, what's your connection to University of Florida? They didn't say, hi, I'm selling XYZ. They went right to a personal connection. Started talking to them about what the connection was to University of Florida. And then the gentleman said, oh, well, I used to be roommates with one of the football players. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And we started talking about that. And then I said to him, well, where are you located? And he told me he was in Charleston. Yay, go Gators. Audra's a Gator. Love it. Love it. If you know, you know. So that, of course. So here's the thing. Sports is always a great connector. You guys are mostly dealing with men in terms of your referral sources. So you have to think about what's going to be a connector for them. So that was a big connector. Then I was asking him where he was from. Of course, super easy. Now, if you're at a local networking event, you might not say where you're from. You could say generally where do you live or whatever. So we were talking about that. He was talking that he lives in Charleston. And I said, oh, I know somebody that owns a business there. My son has been there a couple times for work, told me it was a really great city. So we talked about a couple things. And then after that little pleasantry part, then we started feeling comfortable enough to ask some questions about what it is that he does and why we were there and what we were looking for. So these are things that I want you to be thinking about. How can you break the ice with somebody? By complimenting them on something they're wearing, or if you notice that they have a certain logo, so, oh, are you a such and such fan or whatever. So you have to figure out a way to make that great connection. I'm going to give you actually some questions that you can start asking when you go to these networking events. And I have a few more questions as well. I'm not going to go over all of them today, but I'm going to put them in the show notes so that you can go back and check them out for yourself. So, of course, one of the first things we talked about is we all want to be referred, right? That's how you come to do things. And I want you to think about how can you start this relationship off with a give? So one of the first questions you can have is, hey, what's your sweet spot client? What are you looking for? What's your, what do you really want to be, doing more work in, or what's something that you enjoy doing the most? Believe me, they're going to tell you. Now you, as a designer who wants to work with this person, now knows what they're looking for. And you can build upon that in terms of your relationship and the services that you can offer to them. So I want you to this has a purpose, right? This is not just idle chit chat as well. This is making connection and having a purpose. And people will feel like you really cared to learn more about them and about their business. How about what was a favorite project that you worked on recently? Tell me about that. I'd like to hear about that. And then they're going to talk about something. Oh, we did this renovation and we got to use this cool thing. And you would be like, oh, tell me more about that. I would like to use that in my next project. You see how that really helps take down the guard and you get to really know some incredibly important things about the person that you're trying to make a real connection with. Great question. Next question. What's something that's a challenge in your business right now? Is it, could it be finding good people? Maybe in your area. For us, it's always finding good trades. So if you said, what's a challenge? And they were like, I'm not really sure. I have to think about that. You could be like, well, for me, it's like finding trades. Are you finding that too? And oh, yeah. That's really, really hard. So again, you're finding out some of the challenges that this vendor is facing and thinking about how can I craft my message? How can I figure out how my services fit in with this and help them with this challenge, right? And then this is a funny one. If your conversation's going really well, you might want to ask this question. What frustrates you the most about interior designers? Yes. So the reason I'm bringing this one up is, well, first of all, you're going to find out who they're working with and how those people are falling short right now. Again, great way for you to craft what you're going to be doing and, sort of highlighting as you continue to build a relationship with this person is you're going to be like, oh, we can do that. And then the email is, oh, we love doing X, Y, and Z. And these are all the things that they're frustrated with that they aren't getting from their current vendors. I was on a job site meeting a new plumber for the first time. I was extremely impressed with him, and we were talking, and he said, "Wow, you don't seem like normal designers." And I was like, "Well, what exactly does that mean?" And he's like, "Well, you're really down to earth. You seem very knowledgeable. You like to collaborate. You're not treating us like we're less than." And I was like, "Gosh, this is incredible. Um, do y'all really feel that way about us?" And they're like, you wouldn't believe. And then he started to recount several stories about other designers. He didn't name names, but just other experiences he's had with designers. I know I've talked to a lot of vendors about this. This is the things that they don't like about designers. So I'm going to give you a little bit of heads up of what vendors are saying. And I want you to be aware of what they're saying. So they're saying that we can be snobby, that we can be demanding. And demanding, that doesn't mean, oh, they have a high standard. That just means they're unreasonable. So think about this, like, how are you treating your vendors now? And maybe adjusting your own approach. Or when you're networking, think about these things in the back of your mind, like, oh, have they been working with other designers who are snobby or demanding, right? He was saying that he's running into designers that overpromise. They're sort of making unrealistic expectations of putting those in the client's mind, and then, it rolls downhill, right? So he gave an example of they had been selling the client on this one concept for forever without, of course, consulting anyone in the plumbing world. And while it could be done, it was going to cost like $20,000. But they had no idea because they didn't really understand the breadth of what they were discussing with the client. And so the client was now in love with the idea. The designer didn't want to look like they didn't know what they were doing. So they kind of kept pushing back on the vendor. So think about this. Unorganized. So if you're like uber organized, I think for a vendor, these are things you should be bringing up because this is one of the biggest complaints is that we're completely unorganized, we're scatterbrained, and we don't really understand the process, like what's possible. I always like to approach my vendors and my builders like, hey, here's my ideas. I think this can be done. Let's talk about it. Can you tell me the pros and cons of that? They love that. They love to be part of that process. So I will add some additional questions that you can put in the show notes, but that's just some of the main ones. And one of the things that you can do after you've met this person in a networking event, maybe you want to continue that conversation, maybe you really like them, maybe you want to do business with them, all of the above. That's when you can go ahead and send the shock and awe box. This is a technique that I teach in my membership program on how you can put together your shock and awe box. And this works not only for end user clients, but also for vendors who are great referral sources. Let me tell you, they are not getting anything like this from a designer. So I definitely want you to be thinking about how can you send a shock and awe box to a vendor too, to build that relationship, to try to get more referrals from them. So I would love to see what you guys think about these networking techniques. If I've given you hopefully I've given you some literally concrete ways and language that you can use moving forward to feel a lot more comfortable networking with people, understanding the purposing of networking, making sure that it actually has a great ROI for you so that you can put that time and effort into all the things that are going to move your business forward, help you find great clients. I want to let you guys know that I have a Sales for Introvert free workshop coming up. Would love to see you there. I'm going to be talking about more of these things, about networking tools and techniques, ways that you can literally phrase items to make you feel a lot more comfortable, more confident, and able to close jobs sooner. If you're interested in that, I have the wait list is open. You can sign up for that in the link below. And I would love to have you there. But in the meantime, I hope you everyone has a great holiday weekend. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I will talk to you soon. Take care.